Winston Churchill. Today I'm going to talk about his childhood, his role in the First and Second World War, and his career as a politician. Childhood. Churchill was born in Blenheim Palace the 30th of November in 1874. His father was named Randolph Churchill and his mother Janet Rowe. His mother's family descended from America and his father descended from a rather high up family line in England, involved with the British Army in the past, such as John Churchill, the first Duke of Marlborough. Churchill also spent spent most of his early years in boarding schools and went to Harrow School at a young age as well. His relationship with his father was quite distant, and he rarely ever got to see him, as well as his mother, whom he loved his mother very much, but whom he also rarely got to see, and he also had a close relationship with his nanny. In 1893, Churchill entered the Sandhurst Military School. He made it in after 2 failed attempts, and even though he finally made it in, his father didn't approve of his choice of a career, so this kind of further distanced the relationship between the two. During his time in the British Army, Churchill was sent to a number of different countries, such as South Africa and Cuba and India, I think it was. And in Cuba specifically, he was sent to observe the local warfare between Spanish forces and the Cuban guerrilla forces. He was also sent and was involved with numerous expeditions in South Europe and Southwest Asia during his time there. Also worked as a correspondent for the magazines The Daily Telegraph and The Pioneer. In 1899, Churchill left the army to pursue a political career. Here's a picture of Winston after graduating from Sandhurst Military School. His early political career. Just after returning from South Africa in 1990, he tried becoming a candidate in the Parliament for the Conservatives. Churchill went on a tour of lectures instead of participating in the opening of the Parliament, even though he got in. He was not a rich man after the war, after the First World War, and he wanted to make some money, and he earned well over £10,000 on this tour, so he definitely profited. During the tour, we met several important personas, such as Mark Twain, a popular American author, who wrote, among other books, the books about Tom Sawyer, as well as the President Theodore Roosevelt. Upon returning to England in 1901 to participate in the Parliament, Churchill became part of a group of dissidents called formerly known as the Hooligans, led by the man Hugh Cecil. After some time passing, Churchill found himself questioning his current position and decided to leave the group in 1903. He gained a lot of attention when questioning the use of money in the British Army. And as his own party changed ideals and he changed ideals, he found that the Conservatives slowly sort of slipped away from him and abandoned him. As he continued, he left the Conservatives for the Liberals in 1904. During this period, he specifically fought for free trade. He eventually became the leader of the Board of Trade. In 1905, the Liberals came to power and Churchill became Under-Secretary of the State of the Colonies. This was basically second in command of the colonies. In 1910, Churchill was promoted to the role of Home Secretary. In this period, he was viewed as quite controversial for his way of acting during the Sydney street riots, where he commanded soldiers and had quite humane processes of dealing with the riots, such as blocking firefighters from buildings, allowing rioters to simply burn in buildings. In 1910, he was also involved with the Tony Pandy riots, which were the first riots he had to send troops to, and it made him quite unpopular in Wales. When the Second World War broke out, Churchill was Secretary of the Navy, and the majority of the battles took place on water. Churchill figured it would be a good idea to secure the resources located, the iron resources in Norway and Sweden. The rest of the war cabinet disagreed and regretted once Hitler took control of these areas. As conditions in Norway regarding the war got worse, Chamberlain, the current Prime Minister, had to step down from his position as Prime Minister. Churchill was finally elected after a discussion between parties. He was 66 years old at this point. Churchill had great faith even when the French had to back down, and he was respected greatly for refusing to give up. Churchill made changes to the government and improved the military greatly. Chamberlain's rule never had anyone in charge of such things. It was during this period that Churchill really became famous for his speeches. It was also during this period that he got to know Roosevelt a lot better, whom he had several meetings with during the war. After the war, many was unhappy with Churchill's rule, and he quickly lost in the following election. He was against many great propositions, like better healthcare and better educational systems. And this was the main reason he was beat. Some people even say that he was such a great leader in war, and he probably shouldn't be a leader in peace, because he wouldn't be able to handle such a mentorally different situation. He wasn't away from his position that long though, as in 1951 he was back with the Conservatives and came back into power, and Churchill became president one more, or Prime Minister one more. The time between he spent writing. Winston Churchill is famous for the speeches that he spoke on radio and in public during World War II, and has since been regarded as an incredibly wise man, and I'd like to have a look at some of his quotes. For example, it is always wise to look ahead, but it is difficult to look farther than you can see, and continuous effort, not strength nor intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. These were some of the main lines to get the British power and the powers opposing the Nazi regime. Quite some inspiration. Authorship. Let's see. Churchill won the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature in 1953 and received it for the books The Second World War, A History of the English-Speaking Peoples, and the biography of his father that he worked on between 1903 and 1905 called Marlborough's Life and Times. He has of course written a number of other books regarding war and regarding politics. And on with the video.
When Napoleon laid Boulogne for a year with his flat-bottomed boats and his grand army, he was told by someone, "There are bitter weeds in England." There are certainly a great many more of them since the British Expeditionary Force returned. Sir, I have myself full confidence that if all do their duty, if nothing is neglected, and if the best arrangements are made, as they are being made, we shall prove ourselves once more able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary for years, if necessary alone. At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. That is the resolve of His Majesty's government, every man of them. That is the will of Parliament and the nation. The British Empire and the French Republic, linked together in their cause and in their need, will defend to the death their native soil, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be.
This is one of his most famous speeches held in America, alongside with the current president, called "We Shall Fight on the Beaches." All sources obtained from this website, and the rest of the sources